I am doing something different this week. Usually we have these planned out, and I usually have a guest on. I usually have a topic. I usually have, talking points. But today it's all out the window, doing something different. And I usually have my support team also, who is helping me out. But today I just want to come on and just share from my heart. For those of you that are familiar with my situation, you know that I am in this big, huge legal battle. I am embroiled in a legal case that involves two different banks. This situation involves my mother, it involves my deceased father, it involves estranged family members. It deals with fraud, forgery, lies, deception, betrayal, anger. It deals with family members being torn apart and never having the opportunity to heal. It deals with death, lots of death, unspeakable death, death that I believe several of our family members haven't even come to terms with, including myself. It's a lot when it also involves hundreds of thousands of dollars and legacies and ancestral trauma and pain and suffering and resentment. This is the energy that has been passed down to me and my family. It is no one's fault. It is not one person's fault. It is the ancestral trauma that my family has gone through and that we're still going through, and that I have been called to look at. Now, am I the one to heal all of this? I don't think that burden is necessarily mine. And I think I've come to that conclusion that I am not the person to heal all of this, nor should I be the person to heal all of it. I think that was part of my codependency, thinking that I am the only person who really understands what's going on with everyone, and that I should be the one to bridge the gap, heal, bring people together, fix things, make things right. What I realized recently through the help of some support and through my ancestors is that a lot of this is not my burden. It is not my karma. It is not mine to heal and fix. And it's really hard to let go, like really let go and allow my mother or other people in my family to pick it up where they're supposed to have picked it up a long time ago. Instead, I have felt like I should be the one to pick it up and heal and do what I can to make this better. And of course, there's my part in it. There's the part that I can do and I am doing. But so much of this is about me learning that I need to cut the cords and release and allow whatever needs to happen, and that I am not the sole bearer of healing that needs to happen in this family. Gosh, I really am coming to this particular Unsermon with one thing in mind that I wanted to share. The one thing that gives me solace and the one thing that is helping me through this, once again, is my relationship with spirit. When everything outside of you really feels like it's about to just tumble down and, the physical evidence tells you that things could be taken away from you in a matter of days or weeks or months. And I'm talking about your home. When that happens, and then when your mind is like, well, how the fuck do I fix it? How do I change it? Who needs to do what in order for this to be changed? There's a sense of like, oh my God, I got to make this happen. And I got to talk to this person, and this one person holds the key. And if only this one person would do this thing, then everything else would be fixed. That's giving my power away. That is hoping and being more codependent on another person or thing or situation or experience to happen in order for me to feel like I have some semblance of peace or control or power. I realized that that is not true power. I realized that I was doing the very thing that I teach my students and my clients to do, which is to reclaim your power. Divine confidence is having an unshakable faith in knowing who you are and what you're here to do, regardless of what's going on in the world outside of you. I was giving my power away because I was hoping something needs to change in this circumstance with this, everything that's going on, everything that I just named. And if that one thing could change, or if this one person would do this one thing, then I would feel some semblance of peace or relief. And that's actually not the case. Sure, I can get relief if some of these things would be this, so many of these legal issues would be alleviated. And at the same time, I know the metaphysical teachings. I know the spiritual laws. My physical experience of all of this will not change until my internal experience of this has changed. Nothing will change for me on the outside until I have created that experience for myself on the inside. So what do you do when things are really fucked up? What do you actually do when all of the physical evidence is right there in your face and it doesn't look good? I'm telling you guys, my situation right now doesn't look good on paper. Here's the conclusion I've come to. As a spiritual mentor, a spiritual teacher, I have a spiritual practice. For me, it's always turning to God. This one was a little bit difficult because it's rooted in my family lineage, the pain and suffering, it's not just me, and it's everyone in my family. I have been reading from Joel Goldstein. I forget his name. Joel Goldstein. I've been reading from Joel Goldstein. I hope that's his name. And I just want to read something that really resonated with me. He says, God does not set us free. It is the consciousness of God in us that sets us free. Where the consciousness of the presence of God is not, there is bondage, there is sin, false appetite, disease, lack, limitation, and man's inhumanity to man. Where the consciousness of God is present, not where God is present, but where the consciousness of God is present. Let me repeat that. Where the consciousness of God is present, not where God is present, because God is omnipresent, God is everywhere. Where the consciousness of God is present, there is liberty, freedom, wholeness, and completeness. When I read this, I substitute the word for God because, as you guys know, if you've been following my talks, if you've been following my unsermons, God was actually a word that really triggered me. And it's still a word that puts me on edge because it comes with so much baggage. Depending on who you're talking to, depending on what their background is, depending on their experience of religion or spirituality, God can mean a white man in heaven with a staff who is very judgmental. God can be someone who doesn't accept homosexuality or other religions. I'm not talking about that God. Okay, so if anyone's listening and those are the definitions and the feelings that you get when I say God, that's not the God I'm speaking of. Something that really helped me to wrap my mind around what God can mean was when I began replacing the word God with love. And I got this tip from a good friend of mine, and she said, every time you come across the word God, replace it with love and see how that changes the meaning for you. And I still do that to this day. And so I want to reread what I just wrote to you and replace God with love. Love does not set us free. It's the consciousness of love in us that sets us free. Where the consciousness of the presence of love is not, there is bondage, sin, false appetite, disease, lack, limitation, and man's inhumanity to man. In other words, where the consciousness of love is not, that is where men or man can harm another man. Where the consciousness of love is present, there is freedom, there is wholeness, and there is completeness. So carry the consciousness of love with you. Carry it to heaven if you mount there, because you will not find love in heaven unless you carry it there. Carry the consciousness of love to hell if your path leads you there. Carry the consciousness of the presence of love into disease, into death, into hospitals, into mental institutions. Carry the consciousness of the presence of love everywhere. For me, this means to carry and to bring the consciousness of love. I'm not waiting for love to show itself. I'm not waiting for someone to act out of love. I'm not waiting for my situation to show and present love to me. No, I'm going to bring the consciousness of love to this situation that's really fucked up, to this legal case that I'm embroiled in right now. And when I bring the consciousness of love, everything begins to change. The way I look at all the main characters here, the way that I look at the situation, the way that I feel, the way that I talk, the way that I experience all of this begins to change. And this has been the thing that has given me peace throughout this entire ordeal. When I bring the consciousness of love, what does that mean? It means that I'm transforming and transmuting and changing the consciousness of victimhood, which is where I was, which is really the generational thing that my entire family has been passing on one to another. No one in my family has wanted to take responsibility for anything that's gone on. So it's a consciousness of victimhood. I am transforming and transmuting that consciousness of victimhood to a consciousness of love. I am choosing to see love in this seemingly insurmountable, really fucked up situation. And that has been the thing that has enabled me to see a completely different perspective of the situation, of my family members, of the people who have passed, and the potential for what's possible. So I just wanted to share that with you today. This was completely unscripted. I just had that one thing I wanted to share. Let me get the name of this person. I'm horrible with names and labels, okay? I will forget Joel Goldsmith, not Goldstein. Joel Goldsmith, and I'm reading The Government of Eden, and that is where I got it from. So let me know, you guys, in the comments, if this resonated with you. Let me know what part hit you the most. Let me know if you try this. You know, if you are in a really fucked up situation right now, and I know many of you are, what would it look like if you bring the consciousness of God into this? And when I say consciousness, like if you become aware, consciousness is simply what you are aware of. If you bring the awareness of love into your situation, what would it look like? How would things change for you? How would the narrative change? I'm so curious for you guys to try that out. So let me know, and thanks for being here, and I will see you guys next week.